The tribunal looking into judge and former Prasa board chairperson Makhubele's conduct has denied a request by her lawyers for another postponement. Ground Up is reporting that sittings have already been delayed a number of times, most recently due to a dispute over legal fees. Judges Matter Research and Advocacy Officer Mbekezeli Benjamin joins us for more on that. Mbekezeli, good to have you, and thank you very much for your time. Why is this ruling significant?
Good evening, Mr. Mdluli, and good evening to the viewers at home. Well, it is significant for a number of reasons. I think the most important reason is that the tribunal decided to decline a postponement. This means that Judge Makhubele must appear before the tribunal on Wednesday with or without the legal representative. Just take a step back a little bit. This is actually the third postponement on this same issue of legal fees and the payment of legal fees. The last witness that we heard in the tribunal was in May of last year, and the expectation was that when the tribunal resumes in August, they will hear Judge Makhubele. But when she came in August, there was an issue about legal fees and the non-payment of the legal fees, because the state attorney had promised to pay the legal fees, but hadn't gotten around to doing so. And so there was a postponement to November, so that all the legal issues or legal fee issues are sorted out. And since that time in November, there was another postponement, which was today. And when Judge Makhubele requested another postponement for today, the tribunal simply said, no, you've been given enough opportunity to resolve this issue, and we will proceed with or without you.
So what has been the actual delay? Is it payment of the lawyers? Is it consultation with the client? What is actually being used as the reason for delaying this process?
So the reason is around legal fees, but there are a few nuances to the issue. The first one was that the state attorney and the legal team of Judge Makhubele had not really agreed on the rates that the legal team will be paid. And so once that issue was settled, there was then the issue of payment. We heard today from Advocate Vincent Maleka, who said that they haven't been paid since February of last year. So they have been working basically for free. And in fact, they say that the invoices that they've already submitted to the state attorney, SARS has already charged them tax on those invoices. And so they've already paid tax on them, but they haven't received a single cent from the state attorney. And so that was why today a lot of the issue was about what the state attorney has done to make sure that they resolve the issue of fees and so that this matter proceeds. And here I must also give a little bit of context to say a lot of these judicial conduct tribunals are often delayed by issues of legal fees. You'll remember that Judge Hlophe at some point was challenging the Judicial Conduct Tribunal, and there was an issue of legal fees that was still hanging, and it still hasn't been resolved. He even went to court to try and resolve it. And even if we take it on a broader context, when it comes to the public protector, Advocate Mkhwebane, there was also an issue of legal fees. So what seems to be the issue, in my view, is that this process of holding people accountable for misconduct is required by the Constitution, but there doesn't seem to be any legal or policy framework that says how much should the lawyers be paid in terms of representing people in these processes. And once that agreement of how much the lawyers should be paid, then the payments don't seem to follow, and that's what today's proceedings were delayed by.
So there have been several delays. How much are these delays costing us? I mean, are we, the taxpayers, footing the bill?
Well, absolutely. We are paying an enormous amount. I was just looking at the hotel where the tribunal is sitting this week. They have paid for all 5 days for the hotel accommodation and stuff. So today we only used half a day. Tomorrow the tribunal is not sitting. On Wednesday we might or might not sit. And for the rest of the week we might not sit. All of that money is not going to be recovered. And of course, the lawyers attended today, even though we didn't proceed all the lawyers attended, and so there's a lot of money that is been paid in terms of legal fees, and of course all the other stuff that are related, including the live stream of the proceedings. All of that costs money, and ultimately it's you and me who have to foot the bill.
So why actually is the state attorney being looked at to pay here? Is this a case about her conduct as a judge, her duties as a judge, or is this about her conduct as and duties as an independent, I suppose, chairperson of the board?
That's a really important question, Thabo. The Judicial Conduct Tribunal looks at the conduct of a judge. It looks at whether the judge behaved themselves in terms of the code of conduct for judges. The reason why there needs to be legal representation provided by the government, by the state attorney, is because this issue affects judicial independence. So if someone is unhappy one day with a judgment or has certain accusations against the judge, we will have a situation where the judge will not be able to defend themselves for some or other reason, even against baseless accusations. So it is important to protect judicial independence by making sure that the judge is provided with legal representation. The same principle applied to the public protector. The Constitution says that in order to protect the independence of a public protector, they must be provided with legal representation. But of course, and here I must emphasize, the Constitutional Court didn't say that you must be provided legal representation at the most expensive level that you can.
Yeah.
The legal representation must be at a reasonable fee. And in fact, we heard from Advocate Maleka today that they actually charged a lower fee than the fee that they usually charge their commercial or corporate clients. So that means already there's some arrangement that has been made to reduce the legal fees. It's just that the state attorney doesn't seem to be participating by making sure that the legal bills are paid.
So the question, for example, in the public protector matter was that she is entitled to legal representation of her choice. And that would have been the thing that would have been argued, because others were saying, well, she can go get legal aid, or she can go get cheaper lawyers. And she said, no, but I'm entitled to legal representation of my choice. Is that not the case here as well?
Well, I think we need to be clear about what legal representation of your choice means. What it means is that you are given a rate, you are given a certain amount. So if a lawyer, let's say, charges 100 Rand an hour, every lawyer that you choose must charge 100 Rand an hour. You can't go for a lawyer that charges 1,000 Rand an hour just because it is your choice. It is still your choice, even though you want the lawyer that charges 100 an hour. And that is also to make sure that it's fair on us as taxpayers. We don't want this process to be a money-making scheme. It really is, the purpose of all of this is to get to the truth, to get to whether the judge behaved themselves or didn't behave themselves. So what, in an ideal world, what should happen is that the state attorney should have a rate for these kinds of proceedings, and then the judge who wants legal representation of his or her choice must choose within that rate and find a lawyer who can be able to represent them at that rate, because you are still being provided with legal representation. Yes, it might not be the most expensive, or it might not be the legal representation that you would ordinarily go for if you are paying for your own pocket. But we must also be aware that it's public money that is being used in this process, and so it is only fair that there is a cap that is put in place to ensure that this process doesn't stop unnecessarily, but also that it is also fair on the taxpayer.
Now, there's already been evidence presented to the tribunal, I think, early last year. What happens now? Is that process started over again, or does it continue from what the tribunal has heard so far?
No, the process continues. In terms of this particular tribunal in relation to Judge Makhubele, The tribunal started its hearings in February of 2022. So already we are 2 years into this tribunal process. We have heard about 6 to 7 witnesses who've testified on different aspects of the complaint, because Judge Makhubele is accused of a complaint on 2 grounds. One was that she held the position of a judge and the chairperson of a state-owned company, and then the other aspect of the complaint relates to her conduct while she was chairperson of Prasa, the state-owned company. So in that, all of the witnesses, all of the evidence that has been considered so far, it is still on record. So all we need to hear now is Judge Makhubele's own version of events. So what does she say, or what does she have to say in her own defense? And that is the only remaining thing. And the tribunal has already indicated that they want to finalize this by April. They want to deliver a final report to the JSC, and the JSC should then take a decision on what further steps need to be taken, whether she's found guilty or not guilty. That is supposed to come out in this process. And I must also emphasize that in terms of the JSC Act, there is a provision that says if the judge doesn't want to testify, the tribunal can still proceed on the evidence that has been heard already. So all the witnesses who've testified up to this point, the tribunal can proceed and write the report and make its own findings. They don't necessarily need to wait for the judge to come and testify.
So what are we likely to hear then in the next, is it 4 days now that is left?
Yes, so for the next 4 days, Judge Makhubele is supposed to take the stand. And it's actually 3 days now, because the tribunal has been postponed to Wednesday. So from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, she will take the stand and testify and explain what happened in the complaint and what her defenses are. If, of course, she chooses not to attend the proceedings on Wednesday, then the tribunal will have to make a decision on whether they give her another postponement or they just proceed on the evidence that has already been provided.
Mbekezeli Benjamin, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for bringing that clarity for us.